What's happening, my film nerds? David the Film Junkie here. It is that time for my best and worst list of 2015. I didn't do one last year because of certain things that happened. Not going to go into detail with that. And I'm a little late on this one, too. I apologize. Just trying to juggle a lot of things going on, but here it is, guys. Here's my best list. My favorite movies of 2015. Just a little disclaimer, all right? These are my choices of favorite movies. They don't have to be like Academy Award winning. Well, obviously, award season's happening right now, and there's some movies that are just being nominated like crazy, but it doesn't have to necessarily be like one of those type of movies. These are just movies I just really enjoyed, and it was a hard list to just like get in order. And not to mention, I didn't see some of the movies. I didn't see all the movies, okay? Like Bridge of Spies, The Revenant. Even though technically the worldwide release is January 8th, which is this week, or was it last? No, it was last week, sorry. I don't even know what date it is. I've heard great things about it, and it'll probably be in my list of favorite movies of 2016. But right now, we're just talking about my movies, my list of 2015. I'll have my worst list also posted, hopefully shortly after this one. So now that we got that out of the way, let's get started. Sicario starts off the list at number 10. Now, this movie, did I do a review of this? I don't know. This was probably during the time where my computer took a shit. But I saw this movie in the theater, and holy shit, this is one of those movies where it's so well done that your heart like literally starts like pounding when you're watching it. It's a dark movie. I mean, I got disgusted while watching this movie because just the shit that's going on, and it's probably not far from the truth when it comes to this topic right here with, just drug cartels and everything and stuff coming out of Mexico. It's nuts, and the performances were just top notch. Emily Blunt, who I have an enormous crush on, did fantastic. Badass. She just kept straight as much as possible, And then, of course, you got Benicio del Toro, who did a phenomenal job, too. Everybody, Josh Brolin, everybody in this movie did what they were supposed to do. The performances were great. The way it was shot was great too. I mean, the cinematography was almost like handheld. It was almost Michael Mannish, but a lot of it, like when it took during the nighttime, it was like, wow, this is shot very well for just having really low light. Steve Jobs. Yes, I just recently saw this. It was before the new year, but I finally watched it, and oh my god, man. I mean, if you guys actually watched when I did my most hated movies of 2013, Jobs was way up there. I remember even looking at Rotten Tomatoes and, critics actually saying that Ashton Kutcher did a good job as Steve Jobs, and I'm like, no, he didn't. I hated that movie, but I love this movie. Sorkin's script is so dialogue driven, and it's kind of hard to make a movie that's just like very dialogue driven, but the pacing of this movie is nuts. And then, of course, that has to do with the director, which I don't know who the director is off the top of my head, but it's funny too because this movie was originally supposed to be directed by David Fincher. Danny Boyle, sorry. It just came to me. There it is. Danny Boyle's a phenomenal director, but this was originally supposed to be directed by David Fincher, and he wanted Christian Bale to play Steve Jobs. As much as I love this movie, I still want to fucking see that. But Fassbender is just a beast in this movie, and I love that he could be in these big, huge franchise movies like X-Men or Assassin's Creed, but he can play these roles. He's got such range and just the dialogue, like I said, and you really get a sense of how this person was, how Steve Jobs was, and the fact that Sorkin he wrote a script that it was 3 acts, and it was like 3 different keynotes that Steve Jobs was doing, and then he was dealing with the issues of all that and political issues and then family issues and everything during all that. It was just phenomenal right there, and I suggest everybody to see that because that guy was a brilliant douchebag. Spotlight. Wow. This movie, I walked out of this movie just like upset. Strictly because I'm not a religious person, and when I hear about religious shit like this, about the Catholic Church molesting kids and how it's happening all over the place, because at the end of this movie, you see all the different cases and all around the world, and they were mentioning towns that I lived in. It's just disgusting, but this movie really shows what these journalists did when bringing it to the public. I mean, it's crazy how, this, like, what was it, the Boston Globe? Yeah, of course. The way that they just brought it out, and then the way it was written, there wasn't anything fancy about this movie. It was so character driven. It was just driven by the performances of all the actors. Rachel McAdams, Michael Keaton, and especially Mark Ruffalo. I really loved his character in this movie because he wasn't like the normal Mark Ruffalo. And everybody just doing a great job, and then just really just shining some more light on this subject just made me really love this movie, and I think everybody, for shit's sake, see this movie. The Hateful H! Of course I was going to love this movie, and this was actually the last movie that I saw of 2015. Quentin Tarantino, you can't go wrong with Quentin Tarantino. I love all his movies, even if he doesn't direct the movies, even the movies he's written. I mean, he's so off the cuff, he just breaks the rules, and it shows in this movie. And this movie is also a movie that's just so dialogue driven. Starts off a little slow, I'll give you that. Like, it does start off a little slow because when they're trying to get to that cabin, it takes a little bit, and for a minute there, I was like, damn, it's taking a while to get to this cabin, but I still was interested in the characters. Sam Jackson, Kurt Russell, and Jennifer Jason Leigh, phenomenal. Everybody else, too. I mean, once you get to the cabin, you're trying to figure out what is going on, and then, of course, it plays out in that Tarantino fashion. It's got that Tarantino gore, that unlinear formula that he likes to do, and then just a random, like, narrative, like, the narration, just so great. And the cinematography, top notch, of course. And I know he filmed it with those special cameras, the old camera, the 70mm or whatever the heck. And it's just, oh, please go see this. It's so good. Come on, Creed! Creed, yes. And I'm filming this on Sunday night when the Golden Globes happen, and Sylvester Stallone won the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor for this movie, and it's well deserved because this is the best that we've seen Sylvester Stallone, and it's so awesome that, his career started from this character, and it's come full circle. 40 years later, bam, he just knocks it out of the park. And you almost thought, like, is Creed going to be one of those cash grabs? Are they just trying to just, like, because, we are in the era of reboots, are they just rebooting this franchise and just trying to, squeeze a little more money out of it? Probably partly, but Coogler, I think it's Coogler, he came up with a great script, and he knocked it out of the park with his direction and the cinematography of this movie. Michael B. Jordan did a phenomenal job, too. Wow. Talk about just, even though, it has the same tropes as a boxing movie, and you kind of know what's going to happen, but at the same time, you're like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen at the end. You don't really know, but yeah, just the way it was shot, the performances, everything great. Go see Creed! Kingsman, The Secret Service. Oh my God, this is like probably the funnest movie of this year almost, I would say. I've seen this movie probably about 8 or 9 times now, and it's just such a fun R-rated movie. And I tell you, Matthew Vaughn has perfected the shaky cam use. Shaky cam can be utilized by a director when that director doesn't know what the fuck he is doing. But when it comes to Matthew Vaughn, he perfected it. And that church scene in this movie, holy shit. I just remember just being in the theater just with a smile on my face going, wow, I can't believe this scene. What the fuck? This scene is fantastic. I mean, the action was just top notch. The gore wasn't like in your face, and it worked. Everything worked, and just the characters were cool. It was very self-aware that it was a spy movie. It even makes fun of that, referring to James Bond and stuff. Like, it's just, it's such a good movie. It's a fun time. If you haven't seen this movie, please go fucking see it. Ex Machina. Jesus, this movie is a beautiful movie. Beautiful movie. The cinematography, just when they're shooting the outside shots, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. Like, when I was watching this movie, I was glued. I could not take my eyes off the screen. And it's not just the cinematography, it's the performances too, because this movie has like 4 actors in it pretty much the whole time. Oscar Isaac, and that guy's blowing up right now. He's in 2 major franchises where it looks like, he knocked it out of the park with Star Wars, and then of course we got, he's playing Apocalypse and X-Men Apocalypse, so I'm sure he's going to do a great job with that. But this movie right here just really shows his acting chops. And then it has, what's his name? I can't think of the dude. He's also in Star Wars as well. And it's just like, God damn it, I can't think of his name. But man, just talk about top-notch performances and what's her. I should have looked up the goddamn names, but of course I don't do my job right. But everybody just does a phenomenal job. It's a unique story about robots and AI and everything, and just the way that humans interact with it. And if you have not seen this movie, please watch this movie. It's a beautiful movie, and at first when I watched it, like so many months ago, I was like, this is the best movie of the year. But of course, as time went by, I was like, it kind of got knocked down a little bit, but still, phenomenal movie. The Martian, yes. Oh, God. I mean, it did win for Best Comedy at the Golden Globes. Yeah, we don't know why that's the case. I mean, this movie is funny, but essentially it is a sci-fi drama. But the foreign press, they don't know what the fuck. Hey, at least it won a Golden Globe, and it's well-deserved because I don't know how Ridley Scott did it, but he made Mars look fucking fantastic. Mars is ugly. It's just red. It's just red and orange and what the hell. It's not that great looking, but somehow him and his cinematographer just made it look great. And the performances, this has got a stellar cast involved, and all the parts just really work. Everybody works. I mean, there's a bunch of names in this movie, and everybody just does their job. And then of course you got Matt Damon, who has to act by himself, and he just knocks it out of the park. And I know this is where the comedy factor, I guess, comes in, because this is one of those movies, when I watch other movies and I go, and they just cut to another scene, or I'm just like watching the scene play out, and I'm going, you know what, they could add a little humor right here, or they could add a little humor before they cut to this other scene. Why the fuck did that not happen? And this movie does that. Like, every time it's like, they go to another scene, it just seems like they just send it off with like a nice little one-liner, and it's just great. I actually just rewatched this again a couple days ago, and it's just, even knowing that, of course we know it's going to be a happy ending, but my heart still started going boom, 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 boom at that last scene, because it's just so well done, so well crafted. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. It won for Best Comedy. All right, number 2. Ooh, this was on the top of the list for a bit too, but Mad Max Fury Road. Holy shit. Man, I mean, this is another movie that made the desert look beautiful. I mean, how are these directors doing this? But yeah, George Miller said, I might be 7 years old. I can't get it up anymore. I'm going to show you how to make a fucking movie. And he schooled filmmakers with this shit. Holy Lord. He fucking schooled these directors. I mean, to have practical effects that he utilized, as well as CGI, because there is CGI in this. He just brought them together in such a way where you can't really even see it, and you're going, how the fuck did they do that? I mean, this movie is a non-stop action thrill ride from beginning to end, and you care about these characters, and not to mention there's equality in these characters. I mean, this is what we want, right? We want gender equality. I mean, Furiosa could have been a guy, and it would have been exactly the same. She was a badass. The story didn't cater to her like being a woman, so they had to no, she was a badass. She was more the star than Mad Max himself. But I mean, just the both of their performances, the action. I mean, this is pretty much probably one of the best action movies ever made. I mean, it's in the top 5 for sure on like everybody's list, and I've seen it, I don't know, 10 times, and it's just, you can't take your eyes off the screen. It is just so fucking thrilling, and oh my god. Alright, time for number 1, my favorite movie of 2015. You guys already know what it is. Show the fucking poster. Star Wars! The Force Awakens. And it did waken in my pants. Now, the reason why this movie is number 1 is just because I enjoyed it so much, and I saw it 3 times in the theater. I didn't see any of these other movies that many times. I saw Mad Max twice in the theater, but all the other movies on the list, or even movies that didn't quite make the list, that I enjoyed, that almost made the list, just little ones like, what were they, like Ant-Man and Straight Outta Compton and stuff like that, This movie, it's just, JJ knocked it out of the park when it came to like true Star Wars fans. And yes, there's a lot of criticism. Oh, you're just a rehashing of A New Hope, a ripoff, blah, blah, blah. It's like, shut the fuck up. But of course, that can't be the case because nobody can be happy nowadays, People on the internet that are obese and just sit in front of the internet just can't be happy anymore. Or that's more like hipster guys that just want to be anti this, anti everything that's pop culture. This movie, all 3 times that I saw it in the theater, I just have a smile on my face because it just really captures the essence of Star Wars. And yes, it does play out in the same formula as A New Hope, but just the new characters and the old characters coming together and the questions it raised and just everything was just executed so well that I just, so many emotions all 3 times. This is a movie that when it comes out on video and I get it, I can just watch over and over and over and over again. That's the thing. This is why this movie is number 1. It just reached out and just tickled my childhood, just like it did a lot of other people too. That's why this movie's at the top of my list, just because, yeah, I just enjoyed every time I went. And I saw this movie in 3 different atmospheres, okay? The first time I saw it was at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood, 3D, huge screen, with a bunch of fucking Star Wars fans. People dressed up, everything like that, and everybody just cheering. It was like being at a fucking rock concert. Then I saw it again in a crappier theater, really small, and there was still people cheering and stuff, but the audio wasn't that great. It wasn't the best conditions, but I still was like, yes! And then I saw it in a little bit of a better theater on Christmas Eve, and it's just, every time I just enjoyed this movie, and I just can't wait to see what happens, with the story. And there you go, guys. There is my favorite movies of 2015. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what your favorite movies of 2015 were. Those are mine, in my opinion, okay? That's all. I mean, yes, there was movies I did not see this year, and, there's some movies I left out that I did enjoy. I didn't, these weren't just like, oh, that was it. No, there was other movies I enjoyed too. But while making the list, these are the movies right there. So yeah, let me know all that down below. Appreciate you guys watching. I'm also, look forward to my worst list, which that's always a fun video to do. And then, of course, I'm going to have my top 10 anticipated movies of 2016, which will be fun, too. So, yeah, there you go, guys. Hit that like, thumbs up, subscribe, do all that stuff. Appreciate you watching. I'm Dave the Film Junkie, and this has been my favorite movies of 2015. Appreciate you watching. Man. There's movies on my anticipated list. Hopefully they make my list at the end of the year. Let's hope. Especially that one. You know which one I'm talking about. Yeah. Bye.